a UN-backed global hunger monitor has declared a famine in Gaza City, warning that 500,000 people are living in catastrophic conditions. The IPC Crisis Prevention Group says a quarter of Gaza's population is facing starvation after 22 months of war. Conditions are expected to worsen, with the famine area likely to widen next month. Israel says the report is based on Hamas lies. Well, with me here in the studio is DW Middle East analyst Shani Rozanes. Shani, great to have you here. So, how do you expect the IPC report to impact the Israeli government or its policies in Gaza?
Well, on the surface, the first immediate response we've seen from the Prime Minister is that this is calling it an outright lie. You know, we've seen the COGAT, the government arm that is in charge of coordination of supply and aid into Gaza, also with a very long report claiming this is based on lies. That is, the UN is completely ignoring all the actions of the American Foundation, the GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, and many other efforts that Israel has been taking in the last months. So, on the surface, it seems like Israelis are convinced to go on the way they have. But we do know that in the last months, the last weeks at least, these pictures, the data, the information coming out of Gaza of clear famine, of clear hunger, is affecting Israel in the sense that it changed its policy. It had allowed even humanitarian, for humanitarian pauses of ceasefire, just letting, ensuring that there's more aid coming in a safer way because of the pressure that was coming from the world. So, despite the fact Israel tried to claim it's UN propaganda and it's all Hamas orchestrated campaign, it is affecting Israel. Even now, when we're seeing Israel trying to talk about expanding its operations in Gaza, taking over the city of Gaza, one of the most important things it needs to fulfill before moving on militarily is trying to take care of aid and the population in Gaza. So, of course, it makes a difference, though not the difference that maybe the UN would expect it to make.
Now, we've seen also this week an investigation by several media outlets, and they've been citing figures from a classified Israeli military database showing that 83% of the people killed in the Gaza war were civilians. Now, that represents 5 out of 6 Palestinians killed by Israeli forces. So could you tell us more about this?
Yes, this is a report that we were mentioning. It's based on data from the Israeli intelligence units that have basically a very detailed list of Gazan citizens and mostly of Gazan militants. Most of them connected to Hamas, some of them connected to Islamic Jihad. And each one of them is basically, what we're seeing this list is the Israeli military keeping score over who has been hit by Israeli forces. And the total number that this document is showing stands at about 9,000 militants who have been killed in Gaza by Israeli forces. This is far less than the total number of 20,000 that Netanyahu himself has been pointing out to, and is, sometimes even saying thousands of militants. Why does it matter? It matters because we know the general number, the total number of casualties in Gaza. And Israel keeps saying that the civilian death toll is actually lower because a very big chunk of it is militants. What this document is showing that Israel's claims are actually not substantiated. It is showing that Israel's own numbers actually indicate that the numbers of militants that were killed was fewer, meaning that the civilian casualties are far higher than Israel was willing to admit so far.
Now, Shani, you keep a close eye, of course, on what's going on in Israel, in the media there, and what's being said. So what's the reaction been to all of this that we've been discussing today?
Well, you would imagine, or you would like to hope, that this would be something that is, breaking news for Israeli channels. But what we've been seeing systematically since October 7th, almost 2 years now, that the Israeli public is very much still in its own bubble. Does very little about the horrors of Gaza that makes it into the Israeli public, and when it does, it's usually, of course, being seen as Hamas propaganda. And any Israelis who try to show solidarity with Gaza or objection to the war is quickly being referred to as traitor or playing into the hands of Hamas. This is partly why we might not be seeing enough of response from the Israeli population as the world would like to see. The Israelis are still very much busy with themselves and their grief over October 7th.
All right, we're going to leave it there, Shani, but great to have your analysis this morning. Shani Rozanes, DW Middle East analyst. Thank you.